Askreddit asks, what is the most wholesome thing you have seen?
Was headed to Oakland from San Francisco through the tube. Trains packed as always. People on BART are good about public transit etiquette in general during commute hours, so nobody's talking or listening to music or anything. When we leave the tube onto the viaduct over the port, one guy answers his phone. Hello, ... Yeah, ... Oh my god, what hospital, ... Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. He hangs up and just looks super distraught. Someone taps him on the shoulder and says, my car is parked at West Oakland. Do you need a ride? He agrees and they get off together. Little gesture, but it was uplifting to see someone volunteer for a stranger like that.
When I was a preschool teacher, we had one kid who was our certified cheer-upper. If someone was crying, she'd get a tissue, walk over, carefully blot their eyes and make them blow their nose. All while saying, it's okay, you're okay. Eventually they'd stop crying, she'd take their hand and they'd go play. She was a lil angel edit. Thank you for sharing all the super sweet stories in replies and for the silver. 3.
My last week of high school, our lunch lady gave out small gifts to some of the seniors. Just the kids that took the time to chat with her that she got to know more personally. I received a sketchbook with a sweet good luck note in it. I was always in art club and was going to school for fine arts. So she took the time to get all of us a gift that was specific to US. This lady saw hundreds of kids a day and still took the effort to get to know us.
Lunch ladies are the best. I bonded with one in my high school and she would always tell me about her day and was always excited to see me. She was like a really cool aunt.
A little boy at the airport kept trying to climb over a concrete divider that had active traffic on the other side. His mom was loaded with luggage and kept trying to stop him, but didn't have free hands. My brother-in-law walked up and said, hey kid, there's a rule here, you have to keep one foot on the ground at all times. Look around, everyone has at least one foot on the ground. The kid kept trying to climb, but with one foot firmly glued to the ground he wasn't in danger anymore. Such a creative and wholesome way to let the kid keep playing while keeping him safe.
I'm so using in the future. Thanks for that.
A friend and I were talking and she said, shit, in front of the kid of another friend. I dismissed it by saying, she probably knows worse. We asked what was the worst word she knows. She very carefully looked around just in case her parents were around and whispered, selfish.
Geez. I asked my 6-year-old son what was the worst word he knew. He responded, that would probably be cunt. I have 2 nieces. At little one's birthday her friend gave her 2 unicorn toys. She immediately looks at Big Sis with a huge smile. Look Big Sis. This one for you. We can both play. Quote, she was genuinely so excited to play unicorns with her sister and it never even occurred to her that T didn't need to give one to her. My heart grew 3 sizes that day. What a lovely child.
I was on what I call a rumpled suit flight. One of those flights on a Friday at 6 from NY to DC where most of the flight consists of business people in suits drinking $14 double whiskeys. A fellow rumpled suit sat across the aisle from me next to a mother and her kid. When she could, the kid brought down her tray table and a coloring book and started coloring. I didn't hear what was said, but at some point the kid handed the rumpled suit a coloring book and they spent the remainder of the flight coloring and chatting. I was kinda like, I want to color too.
A few years ago, I was on my way to catch the bus when a middle-aged woman called me from behind a newspaper stand. She pointed to the bus stop, 1 block down, where a guy was standing holding something. She said he was her son, who just got out of jail after serving time for dealing drugs. And today was his first day trying to make an honest life. He had baked some traditional pastries himself and was trying to sell it on the bus stop. And she wanted to make sure things went right for him on his first day so he would not feel tempted to go back on selling drugs. Then she put some money on my hand, asked me if I could buy some pastry and obviously not tell him she was there. At the stop, I saw the guy, probably in his mid-30s, with this little table of pastries. I bought 3. We chatted a little bit and 1 minute later my bus arrived and I left. It always makes me emotional and warm inside to think how pure a mother's love can be.
When I was, like, 11, Dad was driving us to a gathering at my grandma's. There was a woman pulled over on the side of the road. Dad asked if they needed help. She said she'd run out of gas. Dad told her he would get some. So we go into a gas station. Dad explains the situation to the cashier and is prepared to buy a can of gas. There's this other customer that looks like a biker, big dude with tattoos and piercings, who tells Dad he has gas at his house and tells us to get in our cars and follow him. His wife and young son were in the front yard. Turned out this was his sister's house. The guy had fled a hurricane with his family. Nevertheless, he insisted on giving us the gas for free.
I read a story once about a woman whose father had died before her wedding and his organs were donated. The man who received his heart walked her down the aisle.
Oh my god, that's so sweet.
Was it this one? https www.nytimes.com/28/08/fashion/weddings/bride-is-walked-down-the-aisle-by-the-dash-man-who-got-her-father's-donated-heart. HTML?
I thought you were going to say the bride walked down the aisle with her dad's heart in a box.
Yesterday at work my boss' 5-year-old daughter was drawing a picture for me and said, "This is you. A princess." And I thought my heart would combust because that was just so sweet. She proceeded to make a little collection of drawings, which she folded into a book, and gave it to me. It was all hearts and rainbows. That was just absolutely wholesome and made me appreciate little kids. Made my day, to be honest. At a concert I saw a buddy walking with his friend who was blind and also somewhat physically disabled. I overheard him telling his blind friend, "Oh man, I was so smashed last night. I couldn't walk or see nothing. Thank God for you and your cane. You were steering us everywhere like a champ. I would have been helpless without you." It was really so heartwarming and you could see how much it meant to his friend to be told how he was the helper. Not the person being helped. I'm assuming he was being a little hyperbolic. But the amount of joy I saw brought to his friend's face from his kind words was so heartwarming.
When I first had foster children placed with me after bedtime, my pit bull would go into each room and check on the kids and then sleep in the hallway. If any woke crying in the night, she would crawl into bed with them.
That is so precious. Smiling face with heart eyes. My dog, 80 pounds wolfhound mix goof, loves to hop into bed with me and lays across my chest while he wags his tail and licks my face. Then when I say, "Time for bed," he stretches out and puts his back against me. Then he sighs and the snoring begins. 3.
Removed.
My oldest son. He was just getting to where he could sit up well and bend over, sit back up all on his own. My wife was in the shower. I had him on the bed. I noticed he started pulling at a pillow, so I pulled it over in front of him. He laid face down on it for a second. I thought, wow, he must be tired, and just before I grabbed him he sat back up and smiled the biggest gummy grin ever. Then he did it again. And again. Then it suddenly hit me. He's playing peekaboo. So he did it another time, and when he sat up I said peekaboo. And he laughed and smiled. I'm a fairly rigid guy that doesn't get emotional or worked up about much, but that broke me down and lifted my spirits all at the same time. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I had no idea this story about my son would blow up like it did.
That is completely precious. It sounds like you and the baby have some pretty good communication skills going on already.
Seeing my 4-year-old nephew share his peanut butter sandwich with his friend at the playground. Edit. Thank you, stranger, for my first gold.
Like, when do they learn this, or how do you teach one that early? It's amazing.
Plot twist: his friend is allergic to peanuts, and he successfully killed his arch nemesis. I gifted a used electric wheelchair to a family who couldn't afford one. The kid, maybe 14 years old, was kinda grumpy looking when he arrived. Didn't say much. Once we got him in the chair and he was zooming around, he was all smiles. His mother was also super happy. I heard the next day he told his sister to clear off the driveway so he could practice with it. And by the weekend he had gone to a fair. Edit. Bit more background. I had a nurse doing some care at the time. I got a new wheelchair. And was looking for somewhere to donate my old one. She mentioned this kid she knew and made the arrangements.
Oh man. I read that last bit is. And by the weekend, he had gone too far. Dot.
One of the kids in my class was talking to one of our new kids. It came up in conversation that the new kid's shoes didn't fit and made his feet hurt. The boys also realized that they wear the same size shoes. The next day the odd kiddo comes in with a pair of Jordans he never wears for the new kid to have and a note from his mom saying it was okay. It was one of the most precious things I've ever seen. Edit. Wow, my first gold. Thank you kind stranger. Smiling face red heart. Edit 2. They have the same size feet but the new kid was wearing a size too small. It was confusing how I wrote it. Damn pregnancy brain tired face.
There's a couple who look like they have to be in their 80s I see almost every Saturday morning when I go to the mall to run my errands. They walk around together holding hands.
Old people holding hands kills me. I have to remember not to let it show that I could almost cry just seeing that.
I was in the local supermarket doing my shopping. I was pushing my cart in the frozen food section when I came across a young woman in her 20s. I'm estimating. Her little girl, I think around 2 years old, was sitting in the cart she was pushing. She was beautifully cooing to her little girl. I love you, among other sweet things and sounds. Now, I never met this young lady. I never talked to her. Just watched her treat her daughter very sweetly with all the love in the world. It was the most nicest thing to see and experience because my own upbringing was a living hell. My parents broke up when I was young, around 5 to 6 years old. Mother got custody of us kids and she was a mentally ill, abusive, psychotic monster. I never knew a scene like that in my own life. All I got from my mother is daily yelling, screaming, cursing, nagging, and hitting. On more than one occasion she told me to my face how she wished I was never born. I just knew, with a kind, loving mother like that in her life, that little girl was going to grow up into a nice, normal, happy human being. Having a mother like that makes all the difference in the world. One Christmas season one saw a young woman, late teens or early 20s, walking through an IKEA picking up things in the huge marketplace area, taking a picture of them, putting them back, and moving on. She was obviously thinking intently about gifts but I was confused. Was she making a wish list or something? An employee saw this and asked if they could help her find something. She says, "Oh, no thank you. I'm helping my dad Christmas shop. He works really hard and has very little time. Plus when he gets off work his brain is just fried. So every year when I'm on break I go around to a bunch of stores and take pictures of things I think my mum would really like. Then I'll show them to him at home. We talk about them and he picks some out. Then I go back and get them. It's the least I can do for him. Plus it's kinda become our little secret Christmas tradition. Mum has no idea.
In Austin, Texas, my family and I went to a breakfast place. The food was good, the waiters and waitresses were amazing, but they messed up our order. They were short on staff. Apparently, someone had either quit or got fired, and another person had called out that day. So it was only a few people. And it also happened to be one of the busiest times of the week. So, my mother went to go to the bathroom, and when she came out, she noticed our waitress standing at the corner. She was about to cry. Or was already crying. I had been waiting and looking out for her the whole time. So I was able to see this. My mother noticed her high stress levels, and asked if she had wanted a hug. The waitress nodded, and said, yay. My mom opened her arms, and brought the waitress into a hug to comfort her. And once the waitress had calmed down enough, my mother came back to the table after making sure she was all right, and told us what happened. I feel lucky to have my mother in my life. I love her so much. Edit. My big bro found a person who recorded this online, and he started playing the video. As he watched, he landed on this story. He was with my mother, and as my mom listened, she asked my bro why this sounded familiar. My brother was smiling widely, and my mom asked him if he had posted it. My brother shook his head and said, nope. Gayer_3. My mom started crying at the happiness. I love her so gosh dang much. OMG.
I was sitting in a bar having a beer after work when this guy comes in and orders some shots. After the first couple, he starts low-key crying. A semi-regular old man sitting near him asked what was up. Turns out his girlfriend split up with him and he wasn't taking it well. Old man asks to join him for a drink. New guy agrees. This old man, named Keith, always drank 2 beers, paid, and left. Anyways, they sat there and got absolutely shithammered drunk. They tried every liquor in the place and really tied one on. Keith was going on and on about how he hasn't let loose since he was stationed on Okinawa. By this point, new guy has completely forgotten about his ex-girlfriend. They both made each other's evening. Next time I saw Keith, I asked him how the night went. He said he hadn't had a hangover like that since Okinawa. The new guy became a semi-regular and joined our little bar family. He eventually hooked up with a new girl. And I believe they're still seeing each other. Unfortunately he moved, so I haven't seen him in like 6 months.
I forgot a plate for the waffle I was making in the machine at college and I went sprinting across the dining commons to get one because the timer was about to go off and I ran straight toward the plates and this guy was standing there and his immediate gut reaction was to open his arms and hug me. I have no idea who he was and the waffle didn't burn. Edit. We hugged. It was glorious.
So did you hug him? Or just leave him hanging?
I'm picturing this in my head and it's fucking hilarious.
My dad and I were at a stoplight a few blocks away from a grocery store and a homeless man was sitting on the curb. I would have given him some money, but the road was pretty busy. I watched a guy with 2 huge bags of groceries walk up the street and give them to the homeless man. Closing parenthesis. It was such a kind gesture I almost cried right there in the car.
My 2-year-old nephew giving his 4-month-old sister, my niece, kisses constantly. He won't give anyone else kisses but her. He can barely even speak but clearly already loves his baby sister. It's so adorable.
My nephew has been doing the same thing, but to his cousin. He's 1.5, she's 3 months. Then, when he finishes and we all go, oh, he gets so excited that his whole body trembles. It's so precious.
Bit of a backstory: my pregnancy had been difficult and I was worried for my unborn child. A 20-week scan showed it was looking like my baby had a birth defect, but we would only know the full extent when he was born. Being in a vulnerable state, I was looking for hope. As is the case with these things, I turned to Wu. I bought a large crystal necklace, it was a beast of a thing, and put all hopes that this would save my baby. My husband is not the spiritual type and told me up front that it was a pile of nonsense shit, but if it made me happy to wear that thing, it might as well have been attached to my skin. That thing never came off. Moving along to the birth, I had to be induced as the baby wasn't moving. After being poked and prodded with all sorts, I finally was in labor. Slowly things took a turn for the worse. This baby wasn't going to come out smoothly. He was in distress and he needed out immediately. Before I knew it, I was about to go into surgery for an emergency C-section. I was told I had to take off all my jewelry. In a haze, I took off the crystal and handed it to me husband. Him being wheeled away to surgery and all I can see is the look of fear on my husband's face as he slowly put on the necklace. That moment has never left me. Thankfully my child was born healthy and the defect wasn't life-threatening. He is now turning 3 and my life couldn't be further away from that moment, but it still gets me in the feels. Edit. Spelling edit 2. Wow, thank you for the gold.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day you marvelous people.